All right, how's everybody doing? This is the Comic Samurai. I want to welcome you to my next video, and tonight we're going to be doing another Friday comic challenge. These are put out by comic collector Geek, and every Friday he challenges collectors to go through their long boxes and find comics that have covers that share a common theme, and tonight's theme is Spider-Man. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First up, we got this beautiful Spider-Man Legacy of Evil, and it's got a cover and interior art done by Mark Texiera, and he is one of my favorites. Now, I love how he draws some of the tougher superheroes of the Marvel Universe, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and things like that, but I really dig his take on the web slinger. I mean, look at that iteration of Spider-Man. I've never seen him drawn like that before. I really like Tex's take on Spider-Man. Next up, we got Spider-Man #1, the Marvel Knights version of it. Now, this was written by Mark Millar, but the art was done by the Dodsons, Rachel and Terry Dodson. And I really do like their art. They are such a dynamic team, and they threw their hat in the ring to draw the web slinger, and I really like their version of him. It's kind of a retelling of the Spider-Man mythos in the Marvel Knights line, and I think they nailed it. What a way to start a series with this #1 right here. Next up, we got Civil War #2, and this is where Peter Parker reveals to the world that he's Spider-Man. So it's kind of a circus with the flashbulbs popping and everything at a press conference, but I really like this take on that reveal that Spider-Man's secret identity is Peter Parker. Well, it might be the other way around. Which is the secret identity, Peter Parker or Spider-Man? Next up, we got Daredevil #8, and this has got a beautiful cover done by Joe Quesada, and he's more well known for doing Daredevil type work, and this was a Daredevil comic, but his take on Spider-Man, the way he can draw webs and Billy Club lines and things like that, but the background of the moon in this one, it just sets such a good tone. Are these guys friends? Are they getting to know each other? You can see that they're pretty comfortable hanging out with one another, and I like that camaraderie on the cover of this comic. Next up, we got Marvel Comics Presents #49, and everybody really gravitates towards the Todd McFarlane version of Spider-Man. And don't get me wrong, I love my Todd McFarlane, but when it came out at the time, all of Eric Larson's work, I just thought was right up there with Todd. It was a little bit different. It was a little more accessible to me. Those were things that I could draw, and I associated with it a lot more. And this one, what a beautiful cover. It never hurts that they throw a Wolverine, too. He's my favorite character. But the team up of those two, Wolverine and Spider-Man, it was just a great little run on this anthology series. And Eric Larson did a great job on this cover here. Next up, we got Spectacular Spider-Man #189. And this is one of the infamous hologram covers. Now, this one's kind of become a little bit sought after. I really thought they did a good job on these holograms here. I'm trying to catch the light in it so you can see what the image is. But I just think when they get creative with these gimmick covers, I dig them. And that was my favorite of all the holograms. Next up, we got Spider-Man #16, and it's another gimmick cover. And the gimmick on this one is that it's a horizontal cover. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it here and let you have a look at what the cover looks like. And this is one that you read horizontally too, so you flip the pages that way. Now, this had a sister one on an X-Force comic book done by Rob Liefeld, and it was a sideways comic book too. But I like Todd McFarlane's take on it. I just thought he did such a great job here. I mean, what a dynamic way to present a new idea, a fresh take on the web slinger. Do it horizontally, and I think Todd McFarlane nailed it on this one. Next up, we got Amazing Spider-Man #281. I really just think that this one is complemented by the story inside. It is the most underrated Amazing Spider-Man issue that I have ever read. Not only does it have a great cover of Spider-Man in his black costume, done in a unique way with that blue and that white outline and the floating heads of some of his villains there. But inside, you've got battles galore. You got Hydra Man fighting Sandman, And you've got all those other characters, the Rhino, the Beetle, Boomerang, and things like that, fighting Spider-Man. It really is just a battle fest galore. This comic book is action-packed, slugfest, old grudges coming out unlike any other comic book I've ever read. If you don't have this one and you want to read a good Spider-Man for cheap, get this one. It's one of my favorites. Next up, we got Marvel Team Up Annual 1. And I just think that this pairing of Spider-Man with the X-Men is such a great way to introduce those two pairing together. Now, I think this was the first time that they really hooked up. And David Cockrum did the cover on this one. And I just think this is one of the most dynamic images he ever did with all his X-Men stuff. But this one, incorporating Spider-Man, somehow made his artwork just that much more exciting. I like the take on this one. It was a fun. I mean, this is one of the earlier appearances of the new X-Men. I think this is 76. Yeah. So it's one of the earlier appearances by them. All right, now we're getting into my all-time favorites. Next up, we got Marvel Team Up number 128. And this one, no, I'm just kidding. I do not like this cover. Whoever they got to take this picture and Photoshop or superimpose those images on top of it, oh, I just thought this one was a fail. It looks like two high schoolers in cheaply made costumes with some photograph trickery involved. Not one of my favorites, but this one is Web of Spider-Man number 29. I just think that this is a beautiful cover. One of my favorite images of Spider-Man in his black costume paired with Wolverine. It just came out at the right time. It was one of Wolverine's early crossovers into another title that wasn't his own or an X-Men or one he was usually associated with. And this was right after that Spider-Man Wolverine one-shot. That was such a great story. Didn't have a great cover, but they kind of have to deal with the aftermath of that. And it's a good story, but this cover, I like that. Well, I love when there's things close in the foreground with that hand holding the chain. I just think there's all kinds of layers in this comic book. It's underrated, and it's one of my favorites. But I got to talk about my all-time favorite Spider-Man comic book cover, and it's Spider-Man number 1 by Todd McFarlane, put out in 1990. And what makes this one so special for me is that I did buy it in a mall in a different town, Butte, Montana, believe it or not, of all places. But I remember in 1990, I was 13 years old, and it cost me $20. And this one was a little more expensive because it had Todd McFarlane's signature on it right here. And I've never shown it on camera before, but I've talked about it. But I'm going to show it this time. On the back of these, when Todd would sign them, I think it was the Spider's Web comic shop that he was affiliated with, but he signed, some people say up to 30,000 of them. But everyone that he signed got this little web stamp on it. They put that stamp on it at the shop, and it was as close to having some kind of a certificate of authenticity. And I've talked about it before, and it's hard to envision what a stamp means. You don't know if it's like a postage stamp or what, but this was just like a rubber stamp that they put on an ink pad and then stamp the back of it in the white area. And I've seen other ones where the stamp is in different places, but this is signed by Todd McFarlane with that stamp on it. So if you have a signed one, go check and look and see if that stamp is on the back and let me know. I've never seen one that had a signature on the front in that gold ink that did not have that web stamp on the back. So let me know. Anyway, those were my top Spider-Man comic book covers. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to know what your favorites are. Thanks again and have a great night.